So this is pretty exciting. City's been pretty pumped up. Any Blue Jay fan with a brain has been pretty excited today, getting to have one of the pitchers that has helped define his era in Max Scherzer. And I'm guessing our next guest is pretty fired up about it because he agreed to come on and talk about it. It's Chris Bassitt, Jay's starter, and now teammates with Max Scherzer, and was as well with the Mets. What's up, buddy? How we doing?
Good, you?
Good, man. Thanks for doing this. It's great to have you. It's an awesome day. I'm guessing, Jays, they didn't land Soto this year. They didn't land Sasaki. But you like this year's pivot a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think, obviously, I understand the intangibles that don't really get shown on the field, but especially off the field, and being able to push people and being able to help people. Max is one of the best pitchers of all time, and I think what he's going to be able to bring to not just the starters, but the pitching staff and the pitching coaches and things like that, his knowledge is going to really, really help us.
So I do want to get into more of that stuff when it comes to Max, but, you're a vet on this team, and I'm curious how these moves have shaped the demeanor of the vets like yourself who were promised that this team would try and remain competitive in 2025.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone really had any doubts that we were going to be really good this year. I think last year was beyond frustrating for, I think, all the parties involved. And it is what it is. I mean, that's baseball. I mean, things don't work out the way you kind of want them to work out, but I think we're making the correct moves to be really competitive for this year.
Well, yeah, and now the team has entered top 5 in payroll in baseball. Only $20 million behind the Mets. So it's they've put their money where their mouth is when it's come to trying to remain competitive. But yes, I'm curious, you must have been were you involved in the recruiting process? And if so, how?
I mean, I would definitely give all the credit to, I would say, obviously the front office. But
yeah.
I mean, the reality is, me and Max are good friends, and obviously put in a good word at just telling him how good Toronto is, so to speak. So I guess I was somewhat part of it, but just in the matter of just telling him the truth of kind of how Toronto is, how good it is, how great they take care of families, and how great Pete Walker is as a pitching coach and things like that. But overall, I mean, I ain't going to take away credit from the front office and things like that in the aspect of kind of what they're doing.
Yeah, I don't think that that's necessarily what's happening here, but I would say this too, is Max Scherzer is one of the fieriest competitors that we've seen in baseball over the last 15 years. And I would imagine that given where he's at his career, he's not picking a destination unless he thinks he can win.
Yeah, no doubt about it. That's literally 100% truthful. I think that's a very, very big thing for him at this time of his career is just to win championships. That's all he's kind of interested in.
So for you, I know in the past you've praised the guy for his intelligence. And like you mentioned, that you guys obviously hit it off. You became good friends. There's a quote here that I'm going to read to you that is from you. It's, quote, "Obviously, you're a really cerebral pitcher. I've never this is you talked about him being I screwed that up. Wrote my quote in wrong. But that you've talked about him basically being more prepared than anybody else that you've ever seen. And I'm curious if you can explain that to somebody like me or to this audience."
Yeah, I just think he has the ability to retain information at a level that I just don't think it's possible for most players. I just think if you gave most players the information that he has, so to speak, that he gets, I think it would overwhelm the majority of players. But he's able to understand all the ins and outs of every situation, and it's extremely impressive to kind of see, especially from our standpoint of understanding kind of the data and the information that gets thrown at us.
Mm-hmm. And
then to have him kind of sit back and say, yeah, I can take all your information and then pretty much triple it. It's impressive.
Was there something particular that you learned from him?
Oh, I mean, yeah, pretty much everything about pitching, honestly.
So nothing in general actually stands out where you're like, no, I stole this from him directly. This particular thing about me is from him.
I would definitely say a big part of it is like how to prepare for games. I mean, what's right, what's wrong, so to speak.
So for you, I know one of them is like the war plan, right? Like how you approach these games. So I'm guessing that your approach changed pretty significantly after playing with him. Do you think that is going to be the case for some of your other teammates as well?
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, it's not. It may not be for a game plan. It may not be for whatever. It may be. I mean, baseball is such a unique sport where there's so many different avenues to go down.
Mm-hmm.
But I think everyone's going to be able to learn something from him. Obviously, I think no matter who you bring in, you always kind of learn something from the players, just what they do, how they treat their bodies in the training room or the weight room, things like that. But I mean, there's no doubt that we're definitely going to be learning things from him, no doubt.
Well, it's interesting though too, because sometimes when you have someone like that, they can be really intimidating, right? Like it's someone who you said like can think the game in a different way than anybody else, who can absorb more information than anybody else. And so you can kind of have times where, at least I've seen this in my industry, where people kind of start to fade away from that person because they're like, damn, I just can't get on that level. Do you find that that's ever been like a problem for him, like connecting with other guys? Or is it usually a way that, yeah, he can kind of convey this stuff to guys in the clubhouse that will allow them to connect and we'll be able to pick it up so it doesn't just become intimidating?
I think that could be the situation for us if I haven't played with him already.
Yeah.
Like I've already talked to kind of Gauzy, and I've already talked to a lot of the starters. I've talked to a lot of the bullpen guys already. Just kind of how to handle Max, because obviously Max is, like you said, extremely fiery, and just how to obviously make our team mesh as great as possible. We've already have the starters kind of talking with each other and things like that. So, I don't think it's going to be one bit of an issue of being intimidating. I think we're just going to be a really close group a lot faster just because me and Max are already friends.
Yeah. Did you ever have that moment? Because, like, you're also that. Like, I remember when I had Dallas Braden on when you signed, and he's like, this guy's a dog. He is as fiery as they come. He is as competitive as they come. Basically, your teammates got the dry run for Scherzer with you?
Yeah, there's not a doubt. Like it's very intimidating going into a new so-called family with baseball. But I mean, if you already have a familiar face, it makes the transition a lot easier. So yeah, I mean, I think Max is going to fit very, very well with our group. I think the front office did a great job of kind of identifying kind of what we need.
Can you, again, try to break down for us what makes that slider so special?
I just think he's got a unique perspective of the angle, the way that he pitches, what side of the rubber he pitches on. He's able to kind of be able to blend his fastball with his slider and kind of hide that slider, and hitters just have a really hard time of picking it up from an angle and a slot that's just not that common. So, I think a lot of pitchers will definitely be picking his brain early and often of kind of what he likes to do with that.
Well, that's what I also find so fascinating about this is like it's such a veteran group of accomplished starters now, right? Like you go through it, especially like the top four. That's a lot of innings that you guys have all logged together, and I got to imagine that for you feels special in itself, that it's like this many bright guys, this many accomplished guys that are all going to be able to be in the room together, communicate together, share together.
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing is just pushing each other.
Yeah.
I think on paper we could be one of the best pitching staffs in baseball, similar to what we were in 24 or 23, or the first year I was with you, whatever year we consider that.
Yeah.
23. And we want to get back to that. We want to be the best rotation in baseball, and I think we have the ability to do that.
When it comes to the younger guys, like, again, that's not really the main focus of this team is like, hey, you're not meant to be like, you're out there to pitch, like you're out there to do your jobs, but you're going to pitchers and catchers. You're going to see a lot of these younger dudes. I am curious, as a group there, what that relationship is already like with some of the younger guys that are coming up through the system.
Yeah, it's obviously you have a lot of different styles of pitching on our team from our veteran guys, and we're able to kind of guide the younger guys basically in any aspect that they want to be guided. So it just helps from a standpoint that you may have unique unique pitchers, but at the same time, we have unique starters that do things very, very differently, think the game very differently. So I feel like kind of no matter which way you want to approach it, we have a veteran starter to kind of help them out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so yeah, you've got the wide variety to be able to help guys. All right, so like I said, you're fiery, he's fiery, you're both good friends. You ever have blow-ups?
No, luckily, me and Max are good friends, and let's hope it stays that way.
Guys, he's scary. You're scary. I've said this before. Like, I've seen moments with you on the mound where I'm like, damn, that would be really a problem, trying to get in your face if you had a problem with you. But yeah, he's like, there's something too, like with the eyes where he's like screaming at you, be looking at it. That'd be probably too much. That'd probably overwhelm me. I think I'd buckle at the knees.
Yep.
Yeah, he is just that kind of guy. So again, you mentioned it did get a little bleak last season, right? Like it was a frustrating year. And I'm curious for you, again, like, but when all this was happening, the trade deadline, all of this stuff is transpiring with the team. They're taking that step back. And again, it was always with the promise of stepping forward. Did you ever question whether or not you were going to want to stay here?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Not even a little bit. Like, I know there was a lot of things wrote, and there was a lot of talk and a lot of things like that. I'm definitely not one to run away from so-called a tough environment. I'm definitely not one to run away from any challenge, so to speak. It is what it is. I understand the business. I understand kind of how media works and things like that, but I'm very, very happy with being in Toronto. I'm very, very happy with my family being in Toronto, and obviously I'm happy enough to tell my friends to come here to help us win a championship. So, yeah, all the negativity, I think the majority of it is all just media related. And I definitely have not helped that in any cause by any means. But the reality is that I'm very, very happy to be here, and I'm very, very proud to be a Blue Jay.
So can you speak to that a little too? Because you hear this from guys. Like I remember Justin Turner, there was a moment last season, I think he was being interviewed by MLB Network, and he was talking about how easy the Blue Jays make it for guys that do come there with families. Because, like, again, I don't know how familiar the average American baseball player is, with some of the differences of coming and living in Canada. And so, like, for you, your family, the kind of stuff that you tell Max, is there a way that you're able to kind of communicate, hey, these are the types of things that are going to make it easy for you, and these are the kind of things that actually make it first class?
Yeah, I think the whole Canada thing is just completely overblown now. And I think you have 29 other teams just trying to use it against Canada, and it's just not the reality anymore. It may have been the reality 10, 15, 20 years ago, but that's just not the reality of the world anymore. Mm-hmm. They treat the families the best in the big leagues. It's not hard to get in and out of the country. It's obviously one of the prettiest cities in all of North America. So yeah, I think all of that's just overblown.
Hey man, again, pitchers and catches is right around the corner. It's a loaded staff. Yep. I know you guys are excited to get down there. I talked to Ernie Clement, who earlier this week. He mentioned that there's just like an itch for you guys to get out and play. Now there's that the same way with the fans. Thanks for coming on today. I really appreciate your time, dude.
No problem.
Hey,
I
take care.
appreciate you.
Yeah, take care, man.